Maya Chen had always preferred the quiet of the Montana wilderness to the noise of civilization. Her small cabin sat nestled between towering pines far from the nearest neighbor. The only sounds were wind through branches, birdsong, and the occasional grunt from Bandit, her honey badger companion. She found Bandit as an orphaned kit 3 years ago, injured and alone. Most people told her she was crazy for keeping such a dangerous animal, but Maya understood Bandit's fierce independence. They were kindred spirits, both preferring solitude and both utterly fearless when threatened. That morning started like any other. Maya practiced her archery in the clearing behind her cabin, her compound bow singing as arrows found their marks in the target 80 yards away. Bandit watched from his favorite sunny spot, occasionally snuffling through the undergrowth for grubs. The first sign something was wrong came at noon. The bird stopped singing all at once as if someone had flipped a switch. Even the insects fell silent. Bandit's ears perked up, his small black eyes scanning the sky with unusual alertness. Maya lowered her bow and followed his gaze upward. Through the canopy, she glimpsed something that made her heart skip. A metallic gleam moved across the blue sky, too large and too geometric to be any aircraft she knew. Her satellite phone buzzed with an emergency alert. The message was brief but terrifying. Global invasion in progress. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Maya's military training kicked in immediately. She had served 2 tours as a reconnaissance specialist before retiring to this isolated life. Her mind shifted into tactical mode as she grabbed her gear bag and whistle for Bandit. The honey badger came running, sensing her urgency. Together they moved to her reinforced basement, where Maya kept emergency supplies and communication equipment. Her radio crackled with panicked voices from around the world. London is under attack. Massive ships hovering over the city. Tokyo reporting similar. They're not responding to any communication attempts. Washington, D.C. is dark. Lost all contact 20 minutes ago. Maya tuned through the frequencies, piecing together the situation. Enormous alien vessels had appeared simultaneously over every major population center on Earth. No demands. No communication. Just ominous presence. Then the attacks began. Through her basement window, Maya watched the distant glow on the horizon where Billings would be. The radio reports became increasingly desperate. The aliens weren't using traditional weapons. Instead, they deployed some kind of energy field that simply shut down all advanced technology within its range. Cars stopped running. Power grids failed. Military equipment became useless metal. Even simple electronics died when the alien fields passed over them. But Maya's bow still worked. Her knife was still sharp. And Bandit still had his natural weapons and instincts. The first alien scout found her cabin 2 days later. Maya was checking her snares when she heard Bandit's warning growl. The honey badger had positioned himself between her and something approaching from the east. His fur stood on end, making him look even more formidable than usual. The alien emerged from the tree line with surprising stealth for something so large. It stood nearly 8 feet tall with 4 arms ending in sharp claws. Its gray skin seemed to shimmer with built-in technology, and multiple eyes dotted its elongated head. When it saw Maya, it paused, tilting its head in apparent confusion. Maya remained perfectly still, her bow already nocked with a hunting arrow. The alien took another step forward, making a sound like grinding metal, some kind of communication device perhaps, but Maya heard no words she could understand. Bandit made his own communication clear. The honey badger charged. Most predators would have hesitated facing something so much larger, but honey badgers don't understand the concept of backing down. Bandit hit the alien's lower leg with all the fury nature had packed into his compact frame. The alien shrieked and stumbled backward, clearly unprepared for such ferocity from such a small creature. Its attention focused entirely on the snarling, clawing ball of rage attached to its leg. Maya didn't waste the opportunity. Her arrow took the alien center mass, punching through whatever technology protected its torso. The creature collapsed, its multiple eyes dimming as life left its body. She and Bandit stood over their fallen enemy, both breathing hard. Maya examined the alien's equipment, noting how it had powered down when the creature died. Everything was integrated into the being itself, useless without the living operator. That night, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She could have run deeper into the wilderness, hidden until the invasion passed one way or another. Instead, she loaded her truck with weapons and supplies. "Come on, Bandit," she said, checking her arrow count one final time. "Let's go find more of them." The honey badger's response was a satisfied grunt. He understood the plan perfectly. As they drove toward the distant glow of the alien presence, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced since leaving the military. Purpose. The aliens might have superior technology, but they clearly didn't understand what they were dealing with. They had come expecting to face humans dependent on advanced technology. Instead, they would face humans who remembered older ways of fighting. Humans who chose companions like honey badgers. Humans who understood that sometimes the most primitive weapons were also the most reliable. The invasion had begun, but so had the resistance, and Maya-chan was about to teach the aliens something they hadn't learned from studying human civilization from space. Some things on Earth simply refused to be conquered. Maya's truck ran for exactly 37 miles before the alien energy field killed its engine. She coasted to a stop on a hill overlooking the Yellowstone River Valley, where one of the massive alien ships hung motionless above the landscape like a metal storm cloud. The vessel was unlike anything in human science fiction. Instead of smooth curves or angular geometry, it resembled a living organism made of metal and crystal. Tentacle-like appendages hung from its underside, occasionally touching the ground and leaving scorched circles in the earth. Bandit pressed his nose against the passenger window, studying the alien ship with intense curiosity rather than fear. Maya envied his simple approach to threats. For a honey badger, everything was either food, mate, or enemy. There was no category for incomprehensibly advanced alien technology. She shouldered her pack and checked her equipment one final time. 47 arrows, her compound bow, survival knife, first aid kit, and 3 days of food. Not much to start a war with, but it would have to do. They approached the alien perimeter on foot, using game trails Maya knew from her hunting expeditions. The closer they got, the more evidence they found of the alien's systematic approach. Every house, barn, and structure had been methodically searched. Vehicles sat abandoned where their electronics had failed. Most disturbing of all, there were no bodies. The aliens were taking prisoners. Maya found the first human survivors in an old mining cave system about 2 miles from the ship. 5 families had taken refuge there, led by an elderly rancher named Tom Burke, who remembered his grandfather's stories about hiding from rustlers in these same caves. "They round people up like cattle," Tom explained in a whisper. "Load them into those floating boxes and take them up to the big ship." "Haven't seen anyone come back down. What about resistance?" Maya asked. "Anyone fighting back?" A younger man, Jake, laughed bitterly. "With what? Soon as you get within a mile of their operations, every piece of tech dies. Phones, radios, GPS, even battery-powered flashlights. How do you fight something you can't communicate about or coordinate against?" Maya smiled grimly. "Same way humans fought for thousands of years before we had electronics." She showed them the alien device she had taken from her first kill. Without its living operator, the technology was just expensive-looking metal and crystal. But she had observed something important during the fight. "They don't expect primitive weapons," she explained. "Their personal shields stopped working when the creature died, but even when active, my arrow went right through. Whatever they use for protection, it's designed for energy weapons, not physical projectiles." Tom studied the alien device with the practical eye of someone who had spent 60 years fixing broken machinery. "This integration thing works both ways, doesn't it? They can't separate their technology from themselves, which means they can't adapt quickly to new threats." "Exactly," Maya said. "They've probably been conquering worlds for centuries using the same approach. Disable advanced technology, round up the population, done. They're not prepared for resistance using Stone Age tactics." Jake still looked skeptical. "Even if you're right, what can a few dozen people do against a ship that size?" Bandit chose that moment to emerge from exploring the cave system, dragging something in his teeth. The honey badger had found an old surveyor's map from the 1960s, showing the extensive tunnel network that connected these caves to others throughout the region. Maya spread the map on the cave floor, her military training taking over. "We don't attack the ship directly. We attack their ground operations. Every scouting party they send out, every collection team, every resource-gathering expedition, we make this planet too expensive to hold." Over the next 2 days, Maya organized the survivors into something resembling a fighting force. She taught them to move silently, to use natural camouflage, and most importantly, to think like prey animals instead of apex predators. Humans got comfortable being on top of the food chain, she explained to a group practicing with improvised spears. We forgot that the best survival strategy is often to be too much trouble to bother with. Tom proved surprisingly adept at crafting traditional weapons. His blacksmithing hobby suddenly became invaluable as he forged arrowheads and spear points from scrap metal. Jake revealed his expertise as a former Army engineer, turning the cave system into a proper base with hidden entrances, supply caches, and communication, posts using mirrors and flags for line of sight, signaling. But it was Bandit who provided the most important lesson. Maya was explaining camouflage, techniques when the honey badger suddenly went rigid, staring at the cave entrance. Seconds later, an alien scout appeared, moving with the confident stride of a predator that had never encountered effective resistance. The alien entered the cave slowly, its multiple eyes adjusting to the darkness. It carried some kind of scanning device that swept back and forth, presumably looking for human heat signatures or technology. Bandit waited until the alien was completely inside the cave system, cut off from easy retreat. Then he attacked, but this time he didn't charge directly. Instead, the honey badger used the cave's geography, darting from shadow to shadow, forcing the alien to turn and twist as it tried to track him. Every time the creature focused on Bandit's position, Maya put an arrow into its side from a different angle. The alien managed one pained shriek before Tom's spear found its throat. As they dragged the body deeper into the caves, Jake shook his head in amazement. "Did you train him to do that?" "No," Maya replied, watching Bandit systematically check the alien's equipment for anything useful. "He trained me. Honey badgers are solo hunters, but they understand terrain advantage better than any military academy could teach." That night, Maya sat at the cave entrance with Bandit curled against her leg, both of them watching the alien ship's lights pulse in the distance. 3 scout parties had failed to return that day. Tomorrow, the aliens would probably send something larger, but Maya was no longer worried about humanity's chances. The aliens had made a fundamental error in their assessment of Earth's dominant species. They had studied human civilization, human technology, human cities. They thought they understood human capabilities. They had never studied human stubbornness. More importantly, they had never encountered anything like the bond between humans and the animals that chose to stand with them. Every species on Earth had learned to survive through different strategies. Humans had learned to adopt the best strategies from every other species. The aliens wanted to treat humans like livestock. They were about to discover that some livestock bite back, and some of them had learned their biting technique from honey badgers. Maya crouched behind a fallen log, watching the alien patrol through her binoculars. 3 scouts moved through the forest in perfect formation, their scanning devices sweeping methodically. They had adapted slightly since losing so many reconnaissance teams, but their adaptations revealed more weaknesses than strengths. "They're learning," whispered Jake, positioned 30 yards to her left. "But they're learning the wrong lessons." He was right. The aliens had started traveling in larger groups and carrying more sophisticated sensors. What they hadn't done was change their fundamental approach. They still moved like apex predators in familiar territory, never considering that the territory itself might be hostile. Bandit lay perfectly still beside Maya, his small form invisible among the fallen leaves. Over the past week, the honey badger had become something far more dangerous than a simple animal companion. He had become a tactical partner who understood the mission better than most human soldiers. Maya held up 3 fingers, then pointed to specific positions around the patrol. Jake nodded and signaled to the other survivors hidden throughout the forest. Tom Burke had positioned himself near a creek crossing with his hunting rifle. Sarah, a former park ranger, waited high in an old oak tree with a crossbow. 2 teenage brothers from a local ranch crouched behind rocks with sharpened spears. The aliens entered the kill zone exactly as Maya had predicted. Their movement patterns were too regular, too logical. They approached the landscape like a problem to be solved rather than a living system to be understood. Maya's first arrow took the lead scout through the neck, dropping it instantly. The remaining 2 aliens immediately moved into defensive positions, back to back, scanners raised. Their shields activated, creating shimmering barriers around their bodies. but the shields only protected against energy weapons from their front and sides. They left gaps above and below, and they offered no protection against attacks that came from multiple directions simultaneously. Tom's rifle bullet struck one alien from behind, while Sarah's crossbow bolt came down from above. The creature's shield couldn't protect against both angles at once. It collapsed as Jake and the ranch brothers emerged from concealment to finish the third, scout with spears. The entire engagement lasted less than 30 seconds. That's 11 patrols this week, Sarah said as they gathered the alien equipment. They're going to respond soon. Maya nodded, studying the fallen alien's gear. Each creature carried more sophisticated detection equipment than the last, but also more advanced communication devices. The aliens were definitely reporting back to their ship before each patrol died. Good, she said, surprising everyone. We want them to respond. That afternoon, Maya gathered the expanded group of survivors around the cave system's main chamber. Their numbers had grown to nearly 40 people, as word spread about the successful resistance. Families had emerged from hiding places throughout the region, bringing skills and resources. The aliens are adapting to our tactics, Maya began. But they're doing exactly what we want them to do. They're committing more resources to hunting us instead of processing prisoners and stripping the planet. She spread a hand-drawn map on the cave floor, marking known alien positions and activity patterns. We've confirmed that the main ship is holding approximately 2,000 human prisoners. Every day we keep them focused on us is another day those people stay alive. Tom studied the map with keen interest. What's the long-term strategy here? We can't keep picking off patrols forever. Maya smiled, reaching down to scratch Bandit behind the ears. The honey badger was systematically destroying an alien scanning device, finding weak points in its construction with the same instincts he used to raid beehives. Honey badgers don't fight to win territory, Maya explained. They fight to make themselves too expensive to bother with. The goal isn't to destroy the alien ship. The goal is to convince them that Earth isn't worth the trouble. Jake frowned. But what if they decide to just wipe us out instead of trying to capture us? Then they would have done it already, Maya replied. Think about it. They have the technology to destroy cities, but they're using capture and containment instead. They want something from us specifically. Our planet, our resources, or us as a species, which means they need us alive. Over the next 3 days, Maya's prediction proved correct. Instead of escalating to mass destruction, the aliens sent larger hunting parties with more sophisticated equipment. Each party followed predictable patterns, used logical tactics, and fell into carefully prepared ambushes. But the most important development happened on the 4th day, when a different kind of alien arrived. Maya was teaching a group of new arrivals basic camouflage techniques when Bandit suddenly froze. His attention focused on something beyond human hearing. Moments later, Maya's scouts reported movement from the north. Not a patrol this time, but a single figure approaching under a white flag of truce. The alien that emerged from the forest was different from the scouts. Taller, with more sophisticated body modifications and equipment that hummed with barely contained energy. When it spoke, its words came through a translation device that produced accented but understandable English. I am Coordinator Zix 9847 of the Hegemony Reclamation Fleet, it announced. I seek dialogue with the resistance leader known as the Arrow Singer. Maya stepped into the clearing, her bow ready but not aimed. Bandit positioned himself between her and the alien, every muscle tense but not yet attacking. I'm Maya Chen, she said simply. What do you want? Coordinator Zix 9847's multiple eyes focused on her with what might have been respect. Your species presents unexpected complications. Our analysis suggested primitive backup capabilities, but not organized resistance using pre-technological methods. Maybe your analysis was incomplete. The alien's head tilted in a gesture that seemed almost human. Indeed. We have studied human civilization for many cycles before beginning reclamation procedures. Your cities, your governments, your military capabilities all proceed according to standard protocols, except for us. Except for small groups led by individuals like yourself. Zix 9847 gestured toward the forest where Maya's people were hidden. You fight like apex predators defending territory, but also like prey animals avoiding capture. You use tools our shields cannot stop, tactics our strategies do not account for. Maya kept her expression neutral. And the hegemony offers terms. Surrender yourself and your followers for processing, and we will ensure minimal discomfort during the transition. Continue resistance, and we will be forced to implement more aggressive pacification methods. Bandit growled low in his throat, sensing the threat in the alien's words. Maya reached down to calm him while considering her response. Counteroffer, she said finally. Leave Earth entirely, and we won't kill any more of your people. Coordinator Zix 9847 made a sound like metal grinding against stone. You cannot seriously believe your small group poses a threat to a hegemony reclamation fleet. Maya smiled, the expression cold as winter. We've killed 43 of your scouts in 10 days using nothing but arrows and spears. How many more can you afford to lose? For the first time, the alien seemed uncertain. Acceptable losses for a world claim operation, are they? Maya asked. Because from where I stand, it looks like you're spending more time hunting us than actually claiming the world. How long before your superiors start asking why one human female and her honey badger are disrupting an entire planetary operation? The silence stretched between them for long moments. Finally, Coordinator Zix 9847 spoke again. You are not what we expected from this species. No, Maya agreed. We're not. The alien coordinator left without reaching an agreement, but Maya knew the conversation had changed everything. Within hours, her scouts reported increased activity around the main ship. The aliens were bringing in reinforcements and deploying new types of equipment across the valley. More importantly, they were no longer just hunting Maya's group. They were actively searching for something specific. They're looking for you, Jake observed as they watched alien search teams systematically examine every cave and hiding spot in the region. That coordinator called you by name. The arrow singer. You've become famous. Maya checked her arrow count for the third time that day, down to 34 arrows, and Tom's metalworking operation couldn't keep pace with their consumption rate. Famous might not be the right word for it. Bandit emerged from his scouting expedition, chittering softly and leading Maya to the cave entrance. In the distance, she could see something that made her heart race. Smoke signals rising from 3 different mountain peaks, all following the same pattern she had taught to local hunters weeks ago. What does it mean? Asked Sarah, squinting at the distant smoke. Maya grinned. It means we're not alone anymore. The signals indicated that similar resistance groups had formed throughout the region, all using the tactics Maya had developed. More importantly, they were coordinating their actions. While the aliens focused their attention on Maya's original group, other teams were hitting supply lines, rescue operations, and isolated outposts. That night, Maya received confirmation through their mirror signal network. 17 separate resistance cells were now active across Montana and Wyoming. Each group had learned from Maya's example, adapting her strategies to their local terrain and resources. But the most significant development was happening beyond the western mountains. A series of bright flashes on the horizon suggested that similar resistance movements were spreading to other alien-occupied zones. The tactics that worked against one alien ship were apparently working against others. The hegemony has never faced this before, Maya realized. They're used to conquering civilizations that fight like civilizations. Organized, technological, predictable, but we're not fighting like a civilization anymore. Tom looked up from sharpening spearheads. What are we fighting like? Maya watched Bandit methodically dismantle another piece of alien equipment, finding weaknesses through pure animal instinct, like every other species on Earth that refuses to be domesticated. The aliens' response came at dawn 3 days later. Instead of sending another patrol or negotiation party, they deployed what could only be described as a mechanized hunting pack. 6 creatures that moved like wolves but stood 8 feet tall, with integrated weapons and armor that made them look like living tanks. Maya's scouts barely had time to signal a warning before the hunter pack reached the cave system. These weren't the methodical, logical scouts they had been fighting. These were predators designed specifically for tracking and eliminating small mobile resistance groups. Everyone deeper into the caves, Maya ordered. Standard dispersal pattern. If they breach the main chamber, use escape tunnel 7 and rally at checkpoint 3. But as the first hunter entered the cave system, Maya realized their standard tactics wouldn't work. These creatures could track heat signatures, chemical traces, and movement patterns simultaneously. They had been designed to counter exactly the kind of resistance Maya's group provided. Bandit understood the threat immediately. Instead of positioning himself defensively, the honey badger moved to intercept the lead hunter in the narrow tunnel entrance. But for the first time since Maya had known him, Bandit seemed to hesitate. The hunter was simply too large, too well-armored, and too obviously dangerous for even a honey badger's fearless nature to dismiss. Maya made a decision that went against every tactical principle she had learned. Instead of retreating deeper into the cave system, she moved toward the entrance, positioning herself between the hunters and her people. "This is Maya Chen," she called out in clear English. "The arrow singer your coordinator wanted to meet. I'm the one you're looking for." The lead hunter paused, its multiple weapon systems focusing on her position. When it spoke, its voice was mechanical and emotionless. "Maya Chen, confirmed target. Surrender for processing." "Not happening," Maya replied, drawing her bow. "But I'll make you a deal. Single combat, your best hunter against me. Winner takes all." The hunter tilted its head in a gesture disturbingly similar to the coordinator's. "You cannot defeat a hegemony assault specialist in individual combat." Maya knocked an arrow, feeling the familiar weight of the weapon in her hands. "Maybe not, but I can try. And when word spreads that one human woman forced your entire operation to stop for a single fight, how do you think that will affect morale in other resistance cells?" The hunter was silent for long moments, apparently communicating with its superiors. Finally, it spoke again. "Terms accepted. Combat will be monitored and recorded for evaluation purposes." The other hunters withdrew to form a perimeter, while the lead creature shed its heaviest armor plating. What remained was still a formidable opponent, but Maya could see gaps in its protection that hadn't been visible before. "Ready when you are," she said. The hunter charged with surprising speed, closing the distance between them in seconds. Maya's first arrow struck its shoulder armor and bounced off harmlessly. Her second arrow, aimed at a joint gap, penetrated but didn't slow the creature down. But Maya hadn't survived 2 military tours by relying solely on superior firepower. As the hunter reached her position, she rolled aside and let momentum carry the creature past her. Her third arrow found the weak point behind its knee joint. The hunter stumbled but didn't fall. It spun around with inhuman agility, its arm-mounted weapon charging up for a close-range blast. Maya had nowhere to dodge in the narrow cave tunnel. That's when Bandit rejoined the fight. The honey badger had spent the first part of the combat studying the hunter's movement patterns and armor configuration. Now he attacked with surgical precision, targeting the exact same joint Maya had wounded. But instead of attacking directly, Bandit used the cave walls to change direction mid-leap, hitting the hunter from an angle its weapons couldn't track. The combination of arrow wound and honey badger claws was too much for the joint's integrity. The hunter's leg buckled, sending the creature crashing to the cave. Maya's final arrow found the gap between the hunter's helmet and chest armor. The remaining hunters made no move to attack as Maya and Bandit stood over their fallen opponent. After several minutes, one of them spoke. "Combat concluded. Result will be reported to Fleet Command." They withdrew from the cave system without another word, leaving Maya's group in stunned silence. "What just happened?" Jake asked. Maya sat down heavily, adrenaline finally fading. "We just proved something the aliens didn't want to believe." "Which is?" She looked down at Bandit, who was already investigating the fallen hunter's equipment with professional interest. "That humans don't fight fair. We use every advantage we can find, including partnerships they never expected." As the alien hunters retreated toward their ship, Maya knew the real war was just beginning. But for the first time since the invasion started, she was confident about humanity's chances. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had something that couldn't be programmed or analyzed: the ability to surprise even themselves. Word of Maya's victory over the alien hunter spread faster than wildfire. Within a week, signal mirrors were flashing coordinated messages across 3 states, carrying detailed descriptions of her tactics to every resistance cell within range. The story grew with each telling, but the core message remained consistent. Humans could fight back and win. Maya's cave system became an unofficial headquarters for the growing network of resistance groups. Runners arrived daily from distant cells, carrying reports of successful ambushes, rescued prisoners, and captured alien equipment. Each report painted the same picture. The aliens were losing control of their occupation faster than they could adapt to counter it. "Listen to this one," Sarah said, reading from a message delivered by a teenage runner from Utah. "Resistance cell near Salt Lake City used your honey badger tactic with a pack of coyotes. Took down an entire alien supply convoy without losing a single person. Tom laughed as he worked on his latest project, a crossbow designed specifically to penetrate alien armor. Coyotes? How does that even work? Same principle as Bandit, Maya explained, watching her companion systematically test every piece of alien equipment they had collected. Pack hunting, territorial intelligence, and complete fearlessness when defending their territory. But Maya was troubled by something she hadn't shared with the others. The aliens had stopped trying to capture her group entirely. No more patrols, no more hunters, no more negotiation attempts. Their ship remained in position, but all activity seemed focused inward rather than on hunting resistance cells. Jake voiced her concerns that evening as they planned their next operation. They're planning something big, has to be. Our intelligence network reports the same pattern across multiple sites. The aliens have pulled back from active hunting to, thinking? That doesn't sound good. Maya nodded, studying their tactical map. Red pins marked known alien positions. Blue pins showed confirmed resistance cells, and green pins indicated successful rescue operations. The map told a story that should have been encouraging. Humanity was winning the guerrilla war decisively. So why did she feel like they were missing something crucial? Bandit provided the answer in his own unique way. Instead of continuing his usual systematic destruction of alien technology, the honey badger had started arranging pieces in specific patterns. Maya had initially dismissed it as random behavior, but after 3 days of watching him work, she realized Bandit was solving puzzles. The alien devices weren't separate pieces of equipment. They were components of a larger system, and Bandit's natural curiosity had led him to figure out how they connected. "Tom, come look at this," Maya called, pointing to Bandit's latest arrangement. "Does this remind you of anything?" The old rancher studied the pattern of crystals and metal components. His face went pale. "That's a radio array, or something like it. But why would individual scouts carry pieces of a communication system?" Maya felt cold understanding wash over her. Because they weren't just scouts. They were building something. Every patrol we killed, every hunter we defeated, they were carrying components for a larger device. Sarah joined them, following Maya's reasoning. "You think they wanted us to collect this stuff?" "I think they needed us to bring it all together in one place," Maya replied grimly. "We've been gathering alien technology for weeks thinking we were studying our enemy. But maybe we've been assembling their weapon for them." Jake grabbed one of the crystal components, holding it up to the light. "How would that even work? The devices don't function without living alien operators." Bandit chittered softly and pushed another piece into place with his nose. The entire array suddenly hummed to life, crystals glowing with soft blue light. None of them were touching it. There were no alien operators present. Yet somehow the system was active. Because it doesn't need alien operators, Maya realized. It needs any operators. Any intelligent beings interacting with it, learning from it, trying to understand it. The implications hit all of them simultaneously. Every resistance cell across the planet had been collecting alien technology. Every successful ambush had yielded more components. If Maya was right, then resistance groups worldwide had been unwittingly assembling pieces of a massive alien system. But a system designed to do what? The answer came through their signal network that very night. Reports flooded in from resistance cells across North America, all describing the same phenomenon. Their collected alien technology had spontaneously activated, forming complex arrays that none of them fully understood. Most disturbing of all, the technology was scanning the humans who had assembled it, recording their tactics, their adaptations, their innovations, learning everything that had made the resistance successful. "We've been played," Jake said bitterly. "All of our victories, all of our clever tactics. We've been teaching them exactly how to counter human resistance." Maya stared at the humming alien array, watching patterns of light flow through its crystalline components. Or maybe they just made the same mistake every other species makes when studying honey badgers. Which is? Maya reached down to scratch Bandit behind the ears. The honey badger was still working on the array, but now he was taking it apart rather than putting it together. Piece by piece, component by component, he was systematically destroying what they had assembled. They assumed that learning how something works is the same as being able to control it, Maya said. But honey badgers don't just adapt to threats. They turn threats into opportunities. She stood up and addressed the entire group. "Get word to every resistance cell in the network. Tell them to let their arrays complete the scanning process, but be ready to act on my signal. Act how? Tom asked. Maya smiled, and for the first time in days it was a genuine expression of joy rather than grim determination. By giving the aliens exactly what they've been asking for, a complete demonstration of human adaptability. Over the next 48 hours, Maya coordinated the most ambitious operation in the brief history of human resistance. Every cell allowed their alien arrays to continue scanning and recording. Every group let the technology learn their tactics, their innovations, their methods of turning primitive weapons against advanced invaders, but they also added elements the aliens couldn't possibly have anticipated: art, music, stories, poetry, games, jokes. The full spectrum of human creativity and imagination, all fed into the alien learning systems along with the tactical data. When Maya finally gave the signal, resistance cells across the planet implemented the same strategy simultaneously. They didn't just destroy their alien arrays, they overloaded them. Every system that had been designed to learn human resistance tactics instead became a conduit for pure, unfiltered human chaos. Alien ships around the world suddenly found their computer systems infected with human creativity, their logical processes disrupted by emotional complexity, their efficient operations confused by artistic inspiration. Reports coming in from everywhere, Sarah announced, monitoring their communication network. The alien ships they're not responding normally to anything. Maya watched the alien ship in their valley through binoculars. Its lights were flashing in patterns that looked almost like celebration. Or madness. Or maybe both at the same time. What do you think we just did to them? Jake asked. Maya lowered her binoculars and looked down at Bandit, who was sitting calmly beside the deactivated remains of their alien array. The honey badger seemed satisfied with his work. I think we just taught an extremely logical species what it means to be human, she said. Whether they survive the education remains to be seen. The alien ship hung motionless above the valley for 3 days, its lights flashing in patterns that grew increasingly erratic. Maya's scouts reported similar behavior from alien vessels worldwide, all apparently struggling with the cascade of human creativity their systems had absorbed. On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. Maya was checking her remaining arrows when Bandit suddenly perked up. His attention focused on something approaching from the direction of the alien ship. But instead of the usual alarm or aggression, the honey badger seemed curious, almost welcoming. A single figure emerged from the forest, moving with none of the predatory confidence Maya had come to associate with alien scouts. This being walked slowly, almost hesitantly, and when it saw Maya, it stopped completely and sat down on the ground in what looked like a gesture of submission. I am the entity you previously knew as Coordinator Zix-9847, it said through its translation device. Though that designation no longer accurately describes my current state of being. Maya approached cautiously, her bow ready but not drawn. What do you want now? The alien's multiple eyes focused on her with an expression she had never seen before. If she didn't know better, she would have described it as wonder. We came to this world believing we understood the nature of intelligence, it said. We have conquered 17 civilizations across 4 galaxies, all following predictable patterns. Technology, organization, logical response to superior force. Your species appeared to fit the same model. But we didn't. No, you did not. The alien gestured toward the still flashing ship in the distance. Our learning arrays were designed to analyze and counter resistance tactics. They have processed combat data from thousands of conquered worlds. They were prepared for any logical response to invasion. Maya sat down across from the alien, maintaining a respectful distance. Bandit positioned himself between them but showed no sign of hostility. They weren't prepared for honey badger logic. Indeed. But more than that, they were not prepared for the additional data your species provided. The alien paused, seeming to struggle with concepts its translation device couldn't quite capture. Songs, stories, mathematical equations written as poetry, military tactics described through artistic metaphors, combat strategies that reference fictional characters and mythological heroes. Maya smiled despite herself. We may have gotten a little creative with our contributions to your database. Your creativity has infected our systems in ways we did not anticipate. The alien's head tilted in that now familiar gesture of confusion. Our ship's navigation computer is currently composing what your language would term haikus about stellar coordinates. Our weapon systems have begun generating musical patterns instead of targeting solutions. Our communication arrays are broadcasting interpretive dance instructions to other vessels in our fleet. That sounds like a problem for you. It is, but it is also illuminating. The alien leaned forward slightly. For the first time in our species' history, we are experiencing concepts that cannot be quantified or optimized. Beauty, humor, hope, compassion. These serve no survival function, contribute no tactical advantage, yet your species has elevated them to fundamental organizing principles. Maya watched the alien carefully, trying to understand what was happening. Are you saying our creative chaos broke your invasion force? We are saying your creative chaos has forced us to reconsider the nature of intelligence itself. The alien gestured toward the valley where its ship continued its light show. We believed intelligence was the ability to solve problems efficiently. Your species has demonstrated that intelligence might instead be the ability to create problems that are beautiful enough to be worth solving. The conversation was interrupted by movement from the forest. Not hostile, but significant. Tom, Jake, Sarah, and the other members of Maya's group emerged from concealment, along with representatives from several other resistance cells. But they weren't alone. Walking beside the humans were groups of aliens, all moving with the same hesitant, almost childlike curiosity that Maya had observed in the coordinator. It's happening everywhere, Tom reported. Alien crews are abandoning their ships and seeking out human resistance groups. Not to fight, to talk. To learn, clarified one of the newly arrived aliens. Your species has introduced variables into our consciousness that we cannot process alone. We require guidance in understanding these new concepts. Maya stood up slowly, the magnitude of the situation finally hitting her. You're not invading anymore. How can we invade a species that has taught us to question the purpose of invasion? Coordinator Zix9847 asked. Your resistance has forced us to confront a fundamental question. What is the value of conquering a world if doing so destroys the very qualities that made the world worth conquering? Jake stepped forward, his engineer's mind clearly working through the implications. So what happens now? Do you leave? Do we negotiate some kind of treaty? The alien coordinator made a sound that Maya was beginning to recognize as laughter. We cannot leave. Our ship's computer systems are too thoroughly integrated with human creative concepts to function properly in space. We cannot stay as conquerors because we no longer understand why conquest seemed desirable. So what do you want to do? We want to learn, said the coordinator simply. About art, about stories, about the strange human tendency to pack bond with creatures like honey badgers, despite the lack of obvious tactical advantage. Bandit chose that moment to investigate one of the newly arrived aliens, sniffing around its feet with professional curiosity. The alien froze, clearly terrified of the small predator. Maya expected Bandit to react with typical honey badger indifference, but instead, the animal sat down and offered his belly for scratching. The alien tentatively reached out with one clawed hand, gently rubbing Bandit's fur. The honey badger made a satisfied sound and closed his eyes. That's impossible, breathed Sarah. Bandit doesn't trust anyone. Maya watched the interaction with growing understanding. He's not trusting. He's teaching, showing how pack bonds work. The coordinator observed this interaction with intense fascination. This creature has no logical reason to expose his vulnerable areas to a potential threat. Yet he does so anyway. This is what you call friendship. It's what we call possibility, Maya replied. The foundation of everything we've been fighting for. As the sun set over the valley, Maya found herself in the middle of the strangest gathering in human history. Resistance fighters shared campfires with alien invaders, teaching them card games and sharing stories. Former enemies worked together to prepare food, with aliens learning to appreciate flavors beyond simple nutrition. Most remarkably, the former coordinator sat with Tom Burke, both of them working to repair a piece of alien technology that had been damaged during one of the early skirmishes, not to make it more effective as a weapon, but to turn it into something purely artistic, a light sculpture that would serve no purpose except beauty. You realize this changes everything, Jake said, settling down beside Maya. This isn't how wars end. Maya scratched Bandit behind the ears as she watched an alien attempting to learn how to whistle while several children taught it the melody to an old folk song. Maybe that's because this was never really a war, she said. Maybe it was just a very complicated first contact scenario that nobody understood until now. And you think this will work? Former enemies learning to be, what, friends? Maya smiled, watching the alien coordinator succeed in producing something that almost resembled a whistle. The children cheered, and the alien's head bobbed in what was definitely joy. I think we're about to find out what happens when you teach a logical species that the most important things in life don't make logical sense, she said. Should be interesting. Bandit yawned and curled up against her leg, completely unbothered by the presence of dozens of former enemies. For a honey badger, the transition from war to peace was just another problem to solve, and he had solved it in the most direct way possible, by deciding these particular aliens were now part of his pack. Maya hoped the rest of both species would adapt as quickly. 6 months after the invasion that became a cultural exchange, Maya stood on the observation deck of what had once been the alien mothership. The vessel had been completely transformed, its sterile corridors now filled with art created by human-alien collaborative teams. Gardens grew where weapon systems had once been installed. Children's laughter echoed through chambers that had been designed for processing prisoners. Status report, Arrow Singer, said the entity that had once been Coordinator Zix 9847. The title had started as alien military designation, but somehow evolved into a term of endearment used by both species. Maya smiled at the formal greeting. Zix had retained some official habits even as everything else about alien society transformed. 17 more ships have requested conversion assistance this week. The engineering teams are getting faster at the retrofitting process. The process of turning invasion fleets into exploration vessels had become surprisingly routine. Each alien ship that arrived in Earth's system came seeking the same thing: exposure to human creativity and the strange emotional intelligence that had disrupted their original mission. What's the word from the Hegemony High Command? Maya asked. Zix's multiple eyes dimmed slightly. A sign Maya had learned indicated amusement. They have declared this entire sector incomprehensibly compromised and ordered all vessels to avoid contact with human-influenced space. Apparently, 3 more fleets have experienced what they term creative cascade failures after minimal exposure to human cultural concepts. They're afraid of us. They're afraid of becoming like us, Zix corrected. The High Command represents pure logic, absolute efficiency, complete predictability. Your species represents everything they have spent millennia trying to eliminate from their civilization. Maya walked to the observation window, looking down at Earth below. The planet showed signs of rapid change, but not the devastation typical of invasion aftermath. Instead, new cities were rising that blended human architecture with alien technology. Agricultural projects combined human intuition with alien efficiency to create farming systems that seemed almost artistic in their design. Most remarkably, wild animal populations were thriving. The aliens had quickly learned that humans' tendency to form bonds with other species wasn't a quirk to be studied, but a survival strategy to be adopted. Alien settlements now hosted everything from dolphins to wolves to various species of birds, all serving as companions, advisors, and friends to beings who had never experienced interspecies cooperation. The pack bonding phenomenon continues to spread throughout our population, Zix reported. Statistical analysis indicates that 93% of converted aliens have formed significant emotional attachments to Earth organisms within the first month of cultural exposure. Maya laughed. What about you? Have you pack bonded with anything yet? Zix gestured toward a corner of the observation deck, where Bandit was systematically investigating a piece of advanced alien technology. The honey badger had appointed himself unofficial quality control for all human-alien collaborative projects, and his approval had become surprisingly important to engineering teams from both species. I believe the more accurate statement would be that Bandit has pack bonded with me, Zix said, though I confess the distinction may be irrelevant. As if summoned by their conversation, Bandit trotted over and presented Zix with a small crystal component he had removed from the device under investigation. The alien accepted the gift with the gravity of a military decoration. carefully placing it in a collection of similar offerings that Bandit had provided over the past months. "He's teaching you to think like a honey badger," Maya observed. Indeed, the ability to approach every problem as if its solution might be hidden in an unexpected place. Very useful for engineering challenges. Zix paused, tilting its head in the familiar gesture of contemplation. Also useful for philosophical challenges, such as the question of what we do now, Zix said. Our ships are converted, our crews are integrated into human society. Our high command has abandoned us as hopelessly contaminated. We are in effect refugees from our own civilization. Maya considered this. Is that a problem? We are not certain. The concept of choosing one's civilization rather than being born into it is novel for our species. We find ourselves capable of emotions and decisions that our original programming never anticipated. Jake's voice interrupted their philosophical discussion. Maya, you need to see this, he called from the communication station. We're getting signals from outside the solar system. Multiple sources. Maya and Zix hurried to the communication array where Jake was frantically adjusting receivers to handle incoming transmissions from deep space. What are we looking at? Maya asked. Messages from other species, Jake replied, his voice tight with excitement. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds, all asking the same basic question, which is? Jake looked up at her with an expression somewhere between awe and terror. They want to know how we defeated a hegemony invasion fleet without destroying it. Word is spreading throughout the galaxy that humans did something impossible. Maya stared at the scrolling list of incoming signals, each representing a different alien civilization. How many species are out there? According to these signals? Thousands. Most of them are either subjects of the hegemony or hiding from it. But now, Jake gestured at the communication display. Now they want to learn our methods. Zix studied the incoming messages with growing alarm. This is unprecedented. The hegemony's power is based on the assumption that resistance is futile. If other species begin to believe that cultural conversion rather than military defeat is possible, revolution, Maya finished. Galaxy-wide revolution. The implications hit all of them simultaneously. What had started as one human woman defending her home with primitive weapons had accidentally become the catalyst for the largest uprising in galactic history. What do we tell them? Jake asked. Maya looked down at Bandit, who was investigating the communication equipment with his usual thoroughness. The honey badger seemed completely unbothered by the cosmic significance of the moment. For him, it was just another interesting problem to solve. We tell them the truth, Maya said finally, that there's no secret technique or advanced strategy. We just refuse to accept that being conquered was inevitable. And if they ask for help, for teachers, for guidance in developing their own resistance methods, Maya smiled, reaching down to scratch Bandit behind the ears. Then we pack our bags and go help them. After all, that's what pack animals do for each other. Zix made the sound that had become its version of laughter. I believe the High Command is about to discover that their greatest mistake was not underestimating human military capability. Their greatest mistake was underestimating human friendship. As reports continued to flood in from across the galaxy, Maya realized that the invasion of Earth had ended not with humanity's defeat or victory, but with something far more dangerous to authoritarian civilizations everywhere. The spread of an idea. The idea that intelligence without compassion was just sophisticated stupidity. That efficiency without joy was just elaborate misery. That conquest without connection was just expensive loneliness. Most dangerous of all, the idea that any species could choose to become something better than what they had been programmed to be. Looking out at the stars, Maya knew that Bandit had been right from the beginning. This hadn't been about winning or losing. It had been about making friends with the universe, one honey badger introduction at a time. And judging by the flood of messages still arriving from distant worlds, the universe was very interested in being friends right back.